Forget coronavirus. Our climate change is the greatest threat. Or coronavirus is the threat, but it's not our greatest threat. Our greatest threat is climate change. It's a threat to our way of life and everything we hold dear. And it's our greatest challenge. It threatens our public health, our environment, our national security, our economy, and many other things. We have seen the current impacts of climate change, like hurricanes Maria, Harvey, Sandy, Katrina, Irma, and droughts, including one that almost made Cape Town, South Africa, run out of water. We've seen heat waves, including the 2003 European heat wave, which killed over 76,000 people. We've sea level rise. We've seen sea level rise hurting Miami, communities in Louisiana, Alaska, Fiji, Bangladesh, and small island countries, and wildfires that are affecting California, Australia, Canada, Alaska, and Russia. But over the past 30 years, 50% of the world's corals have died. A 10-year drought partly attributed to climate change led to the buildup of the Syrian civil war, which has killed over 500,000 people and left 12 million displaced. By 2030, a foot of sea level rise and 100 million more impoverished, and 535,000 deaths per year from hunger alone. By 2100, 6 feet of sea level rise, and over 1.5 million dying from climate change each year. And that is including air pollution. And 1 million species extinct in a semi-permanent economic depression that is the size of the Great Depression. To solve this, we need to accept a new reality that our fossil fuel economy cannot exist forever. We need to get off of fossil fuels by 2050. We need to get to net zero by 2050. We need to reduce our emissions by 50% by 2030 for a 50% chance of stopping 1.5 degrees Celsius, and which is dangerous climate change. In reality, we need to reduce our emissions by 80% by 2030 and net zero by 2040. This would require a mass economic mobilization, which we have not seen since World War II. One of the organizations working to stop climate change is 350.org. It's a global climate change activist organization, and it's named after the safe amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, 350 parts per million, which we passed in 1987. It presses politicians and policymakers for climate-based decisions. It has launched the People's Climate March, Exxon New campaign, Rise for just climate, jobs, and justice, and it was founded by Bill McKibben in 2006 as a Step It Up campaign. It pushes for a transition to 100% clean energy, no fossil fuel projects, which the science calls for, and divesting from fossil fuels. They value justice, creativity, bravery, compassion, honesty, collaboration, transparency, accountability. Charity Navigator gives it a rating of 94.9 points, and a financial rating of 98.97 points, and a transparency rating of 93 points. In 2015, it started its de-invest campaign because the stockpile of fossil fuels alone would outdo our carbon budget, the amount of carbon we have left to burn, by nearly 5 times. It started the People's Climate March, which had 400,000 people in New York City participate, and had 2,000 other demonstrations across the world, including in Sydney and New Delhi. It started the Exxon New campaign, which was to spread the word that Exxon knew about its activities would cause climate change from the 1960s and 70s. But instead of diversifying their assets and trying to get off of fossil fuels, they misled the public. It has worked to stop Energy East pipeline, 2 coal plants in Turkey, Trans Mountain pipeline extension, divest $6 trillion from $6 trillion worldwide. New Zealand, or ban fossil fuel permits in New Zealand, stop a coal plant in Kenya, and have 2 Brazilian states pass fracking bans. It's one of the climate activist organizations pushing for a world free of climate change. We want a future that is bright and vibrant and with thriving economies and animal species that are not going extinct and healthy people in places that are not underwater. For that future, we have to stand up for that future because it is under threat. We want a future that doesn't have 1.5 million people dying every year, and including 4,000 from the Midwest from heat-related illnesses alone. We want a future that doesn't have a loss of 1 million species, doesn't have a semi-permanent Great Depression, and where hurricanes are not 45 to 87% more intense. We want a future where wildfires are not 6 times as big of a problem as they are now. And we want a future where millions don't die of air pollution deaths. We wanted a future that our parents promised us, but we're not able to. So I ask you to join us, not necessarily 350.org, but another climate activist organization to press for a future that we were promised, but weren't given. Thank you.